Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. It's that time of the week once again for a brand new set of weekly challenges. Now I just want to take a quick moment before we actually get into the video to say that at the end of this video I do have an explanation as to why uploads have been a little bit slow recently, and I guess just an update in general on the channel. So if you do want to hear that, stick around to the end. If not, thanks for watching. Let's get into it then with this week's set of weekly challenges. And as you can see, this is January week 2. This will end on the 16th of January 2025 at midnight. So first of all, let's begin with the events then. So up first for event number 1, it is Suzuka East course with the Japanese FF Challenge 450. We'll then move over to Red Bull Ring with the European FR Challenge 550. Honestly, I would say that is perhaps the hardest event this week. In terms of event number 3, that is Watkins Glen Long Course. That is the American Clubman Cup 700, followed by Deep Forest Raceway Reverse for the VGT Trophy. And to finish off, we have a brand new special event and a continuation of the Ferrari Circuit Challenge, this time over at Fuji International Speedway. In terms of the rewards, for completing one event, it's a 6-star roulette ticket part ticket. For 3 events, it's 150,000 credits. And for all 5, it is a 6-star roulette ticket free car reward. Now, in terms of the week in general, it's a very short and sweet week. And honestly, you're going to be getting the best reward possible in the shortest amount of time. So I would certainly say it's worth going for this week. Okay then, so let's move in to event number 1 of the week. Of course, this is Suzuka East course. This is going to be with the Japanese FF Challenge 450, of course aimed at Japanese front wheel drive cars around a 450 pp rating. However, I would say that's a bit generous. A lot of these cars are way under that. So let's go ahead and get started. My car of choice for this one would be an EK Civic Type R, which really does the job nice and easy. There's no modifications here. In terms of the event, it is a 3-lap sprint race with 8 cars in total, of course 7 AIs on the track. Now again, this is around a 450 pp race. I'll be always around the pp limit if possible, and I'll also be running it on the hardest difficulty. And honestly, you shouldn't have that much of a problem here. The only cars that might give you a decent run for your money if you're around that 450 rating is the Integras and the Civic Type Rs. I mean, it's very obvious they would be the standout cars of the bunch. Now, I got lucky. The Civic Type R did end up kind of getting stuck behind a Swift for a long time, so that kind of dropped off a lot of pace. And the Integra, for some reason, once it got to lap 2 and lap 3, just massively dropped off the pace. So the huge gap that car had originally was absolutely plummeting by the time we got to the end of lap 2. So again, just make your moves and you shouldn't have much of a difficult time here. It's a nice simple starter event for the week. So after 3 laps, I managed to build up a decent enough gap to take a relatively easy win. That is going to be tick number 1 of the week. Now in terms of the payout, I didn't get the clean race bonus here, so it was 7,000 credits and 4.1 miles travelled, but of course we do get the 6-star roulette ticket part on top of that. Now event number 2 of the week is the Red Bull Ring European FR Challenge 550, and I have to admit this is perhaps the hardest event of the week, just due to one single AI being much quicker than the rest of the field by a decent margin as well. So when it comes to car choice for this one, my car of choice would be the Maserati Gran Turismo. However, I just want to take a quick note about the AI. It is the M4 BMW, which is incredibly quick here. Now, every time I ran this race, it did appear, so just be on your toes on the highest difficulty. If you're running around 550 pp, that thing is ridiculously fast and will build up a huge gap over the rest of the field. However, in terms of the rest of vehicles that you're up against, in terms of the entire 12 car grid and 11 AI, they're honestly not that bad whatsoever. It is just purely that M4 that seems to build up a lead very quickly and will disappear off into the distance. Now again, the PP rating here isn't set in stone, it's just purely a recommendation, and you can make this much easier if you do so wish. But if you want a proper challenge, then go ahead and match the 550 rating and try and chase down that M4. That thing is incredibly quick. Now again, as mentioned, the rest of the grid is super easy to get past, so you shouldn't have too much of a bother here. They're incredibly inconsistent with some of these slower corners, they get off balance a lot, and again, it's just essentially a field of BMWs, and most of the AI just cannot drive them. So if you just take note here, it's going to be an 8-second gap by the time we're in P2, and we've got a lap and a half to get that down, and it will go all the way to the final corner of the race where I eventually make the move. Now, I did get a little bit ridiculous with the track limits, admittedly, but I just wanted the win in the end. I knew I couldn't match the M4 for pace, so I just had to kind of, throw it in and hope for the best. Of course, shortcut penalties not on, but I would end up losing my clean race bonus overall. So in the end, we end up with a half a second gap, just taking the win on the final corner there. That gives us tick number 2 of the week. Now, in terms of the payout, without clean race bonus, it doesn't pay that well. 25,000 credits. And as you can see, it did end up taking me 2 times to go ahead and get this one complete. Moving on then, we have a Watkins Glen long course. This is the American Clubman Cup 700. Of course, aiming at any American car, around a 700 PP rating. Once again, it's just a pure recommendation for this one. It isn't set in stone. So you have a lot of freedom here. So my car of choice here would definitely be a bit of a different one. This is the Ford GT40 Mark 1. I do have it tuned up to 700 pp, of course, to match the rest of the field. Now, in terms of the AI here, there are 11 of them, 12 cars in total, over a 5-lap sprint. Now, admittedly, it is a very inconsistent grid. I don't know what it is when it comes to rear-wheel drive cars, that the AI, as soon as they've got a bit of power behind them, seem to be incredibly slow and inconsistent. So you will find that some of these cars are much quicker than others, some not so much. So it really is a mixed bag on what you're going to get here. And I definitely think depending on what kind of car you go for will depend on how easy you go ahead and beat this event. For me, I found this to be one of the easier ones for the week, so I didn't really have any issues. However, for someone else that might want to really challenge themselves, this might be an incredibly difficult event. So it really is a mixed bag across the board. Now, the main thing that seems to happen is a lot of the AI will start tripping up over the slower AI, and for some reason they'll just sit behind them instead of overtaking them, and that just makes them easy pickings. You can get 2, 3, sometimes 4 cars in one corner with that. Now, in terms of the race then, lap 2 going on to lap 3 was when I took the lead, and in the end I built up over a 16-second lead, so it was nice and easy in the end. First place, tick number 3 of the week. Now, in terms of the payout, it's not too bad here. With the clean race bonus, it's 105,000 credits over 17 miles. We get a 4-star roulette ticket for the daily, and of course the credit ticket for completing 3 events at 150,000 credits. So let's go ahead then and move into event number 4. This is the Vision Gran Turismo Trophy at Deep Forest Raceway Reverse. Now, at this point in the weekly challenges, this is where you're going to see PP limits that are set in stone. So for the Vision Gran Turismo Trophy, it's 850 PP. So if you do want to use one of the faster cars, you may have to detune slightly to go ahead and get it to enter. Now, in terms of my car choice, as a little bit of a nod to the late great Ken Block, I went for this Unicorn-inspired Audi e-tron. So of course, we need to go ahead and start the event. And again, this is an incredibly easy one, depending on what kind of car you're using. Now, the e-tron here is incredible. There's no denying that. It's very, very quick around a track like Deep Forest, and that will make short work of pretty much all of the AI. However, there are 3 cars that I do recommend watching out for, because these are typically the fastest of the bunch, and I believe they're all electric variants of VGTs. That is the Porsche, Peugeot and Jaguar. Those 2 vehicles are much quicker than the rest of the field. So early on over the 7-lap sprint race, you may find yourself picking off a bunch of cars at once. And as you can see, by the time I come up across the line to get myself onto lap 2, I'm already moving up into the top 5. So I'm making very, very short work of the AI. That left just one more car up ahead in terms of being outside of the top 3. That was the Mitsubishi. And after that, we have a decent gap to the rest of the field. A little later on lap 2, we would end up picking off the Jaguar as well as the Peugeot. These 2 cars definitely not going as strong here, and I think that's just due to them having a little bit of a lower top speed in comparison to our current lead car, which is much, much faster than the rest of the field. And if you've taken part in the VGT Trophy before, you know exactly the car I'm talking about. The Porsche Vision Gran Turismo. The top speed on that thing is ridiculous. As you can see here, it will just disappear off into the distance. So in that first section of Deep Forest, forest reverse with the main straight, and then of course the tunnel, that thing is incredibly quick. We would eventually catch it coming towards the more tight and twisty section where our e-tron was definitely the better of the two cars, and from there it just seemed to absolutely drop off. It didn't seem to give us much of a problem, and we were able to build up a decent lead of over 10 seconds at the end of 7 laps. So there we go then, tick number 4 of the week. Now in terms of the payout for this one, not too bad, 81,000 credits without the clean race bonus, around about 18.8 miles travelled. So let's move on to the special event, and this is going to be a continuation of the Ferrari Circuit Challenge. It's great to see Polyphony continuing that momentum into the rest of 2025. This one takes place at Fuji International Speedway with a PP limit of 700 pp. So this is an 8-lap sprint race for 16 cars. Of course, it's a 700 pp limit and the manufacturer must be Ferrari. The payout is relatively low at 90,000 credits. Your main rival cars will be the likes of the 430, 430 Scuderia, 458 and F40. However, there are other Ferraris here. BOP is off, it must be a garage car. Car settings are allowed, mechanical damage none, and both shortcuts and penalties are off. Now in terms of my car of choice, I went for the Ferrari 512, the kind of Coing special replica here. Now in terms of the event itself, I would recommend using an incredibly high top speed Ferrari. Honestly, you don't need to worry too much about grip. The AI are incredibly slow through there, but they do have a tendency to be incredibly quick on that huge start finish straight at Fuji. So the 512 I'm using here is built to around about over 600 brake horsepower. It's of course built up to 700 pp, pretty much every upgrade on it running a sports soft compound of tyre. So it did make it an incredibly sketchy ride, and it wouldn't be until lap 2 before I eventually started getting used to it and making moves. As you can see though, a lot of the faster cars do seem to start at the back of the pack, so they are also working their way through. So if you don't start making overtakes very early, don't worry about it too much. It does seem that the quicker cars are going to start at the back and start working their way through, so just go ahead and do it with them. Now some of the cars I noticed that started a long way back and would have to go through the pack was the like of the F8, the F12. Again, they're all going to be caught up just like you are, so again, make your moves if you can whilst they're stuck in the pack. That way it's going to give you an incredible advantage. Now onto lap 5, I was getting towards the front end of the pack here. As we can see, the F40 that was leading the way early doors was eventually overtaken by the F12 and of course the 430 Scuderia, and we would end up taking the fight to them. So the first of the two to be picked off would be the F12, which we managed to get down the inside of. We're then trying to outbrake the 430 Scuderia, but we just couldn't. That car is incredibly strong through this section, so we would end up trying to get the cutback at that point, but the acceleration and grip was much better on that car, and eventually we would just go ahead and throw it up the inside and just kind of hope for the best. As you can see, it did end up running wide there, so we managed to get it up the inside, took a little nudge, and that moved us into P1 on lap 5. However, a lot of the faster cars at that point started working their way through, especially like the F8, meaning that we only just managed to take the win in the end. However, we did get tick number 5 for the week. In terms of the payout, I didn't get the clean race bonus, 90,000 credits, 22.4 miles, and a 6-star car roulette ticket reward. Of course, in terms of the rewards, we do have to open them up, so we'll start off with our daily. This was a 4-star ticket. Now, typically these are very hit and miss. You'll either get something very good or something incredibly weak, and I would end up with one of the worst prizes. Of course, a mere 10,000 credits added to the balance. We'd then go ahead and open up the parts ticket. Now again, this is a very hit and miss reward. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. Now in terms of my reward, this would be for the Lamborghini Huracan, I believe. So we'll go ahead and open that up. It would be the titanium connecting rods and pistons for the Huracan. We then go ahead and add 150k to the account before opening up the main reward for this week, of course the free car award. Now again, this could include some of the best cars in game, some of the VGTs, Le Mans cars of course you're seeing here, and it would be one of the Le Mans cars that I end up getting. Unfortunately though, it wasn't the one that's worth 3 million credits, it's the one that's worth 1 million, the Audi R18 from 2016. Now I do want to give a big thank you to all of my channel members listed on screen now. And of course I do want to thank each and every single one of you that watched this video. Now I did mention at the start of the video I did want to kind of explain where I've been for the last week, and while maybe over the last month to a month and a half, uploads have been a lot slower than usual. Okay, so this is more for my long-term viewers or daily viewers. So over the last month and a half, I've had an infection that's basically been recurring. So it has constantly come back. Every time I've treated it, it's then just appeared again in a pretty short time. Now, of course, this has required me to have a bit of surgery next Thursday to hopefully fix the problem once and for all. Now, it should be a quick turnaround. At the end of the day, I'm still young, still pretty much in my prime, so it shouldn't take me long to maybe bounce back, maybe a day or two at most. Now, of course, the other kind of issue that I've had alongside the infection is that I've been on such strong pain relief that I shouldn't have really been on for a long period of time, but I have. And of course, whilst you do end up with the relief of pain, you end up with a bunch of other side effects, and it's essentially just wrecked my body from the inside out, of course, over such a long period of time. Now, again, hopefully everything on Thursday goes smoothly and I should just be back to normal within a couple of days. So yeah, I guess the short and sweet thing is that I've just had this constant infection. I need surgery. I've been on so many different medications that it's just kind of battered my body from the inside out. Hopefully that will be a thing of the past within the next week or so, and we can kind of just crack on and go back to normal. So yeah, I do want to take a quick time just to apologise that, look, I've kind of had to put my health first for the first time in what feels like forever. But again, hopefully things should be back to normal soon. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take care, guys. Peace.